Hello, everyone, and welcome to Be My Guest with me, Mary Honan, on Lir Media TV, supporting the Samaritans, Limerick and Tipperary. And I've been interviewing many of my colleagues lately from the Irish dancing world, a world I've been involved in since the age of 4. And I've known all these people at some level, but it's amazing how much you don't know until you actually sit down and talk. And my next guest is one of those people who I've seen from a distance and saluted, but never really sat down and talked to. Mary Sweeney, all the way from Germany. All I can manage is that she's near Mannheim.
Yeah, I'm living in a place called Landstuhl, which is it's in the region of Rhineland-Pfalz. So just for people to know, our nearest airport will be Frankfurt. So it's that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I was never in Frankfurt. I was in a lot of places dancing with Bonratti. We did 11 cities in East and then 11 cities in West Germany before the wall came down. And yeah, it was just fabulous country.
It is.
Clean, really organized.
Yeah, and you can imagine what they're like now in these times, in the COVID times.
What is it like, Mary?
They're very strict. I mean, they were straight in with the masks, straight in with the rules. We had updates, constant updates, and quite easy to follow. So you knew what each region had to do, and each region was different. I mean, Bavaria had the higher numbers at the start, and then our region didn't have so many numbers, and we're quite near the French-Luxembourg border. So so they kept warning us about no travel there. So when the borders closed, they were very strict straight away. You know,
I think that's what they should have done here in this country. They should have locked airports, ports, and border. The border between north and south should really have been closed.
Yeah, because it was different rules, wasn't it, for north and south?
Yeah, I mean, you could come down from the north. People I knew, their friends were coming down from the north shopping, and yet everyone was in quarantine. I just think they were slow off the mark. If they had actually closed borders and told people you have until Wednesday to return home if you're Irish. After that, you stay in the airport hotel in Dublin Airport for 10 days. And
quarantine.
They wouldn't have been allowed out of the airport for the 10 days. But they were told just when they'd arrive, even up to now, quarantine for 10 days. Sure, they can't. Who's to say whether they do or they don't quarantine?
No. I think they're checking up, though. I'm sure they're checking up that they're quarantining. Are they phoning them? Or?
Sure, I mean, all they have to do is give any address. And all they do is they write down an address as they arrive in, and they get into a bus.
But nobody follows that up.
Way home. And it doesn't seem to be followed up because that question was asked, and they said that they were in the process of trying to follow up on everybody. Sure, there's 84 flights roughly a day coming in.
Wow. They've just brought in here testing so say anybody who was holidaying, maybe, the high risk areas like Spain there around Barcelona, Catalonia. So they're like, you're being tested straight away. And until you get, your negative test back, then you're out of quarantine.
Yeah.
And the same with Luxembourg. Luxembourg's really high. Yeah. So anyone coming in. So they agreed on all of that yesterday. So all borders, you will be tested.
Well, that's good. I was tested in the very beginning because I'm asthmatic and I had a very bad cough and I was clear, thank God.
You're lucky. Yeah.
But I didn't go out for, I'd say, 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's tough times.
It's only about it's well within the 2 kilometers from my house anyway. So
you had a restriction, didn't you, of kilometers? Yeah.
Had you?
We were just told that we could only go to the shops and only go to the chemist. You could only leave if it was very necessary. So basically we didn't leave. It was either myself or my husband would go, and it was a mask from day one. And you'd have to, sanitize your hands going into every building and leaving every building. And they actually had doormen on the supermarkets at the beginning to make everyone, aware. And it was a bit scary, but still. And you're afraid if you met somebody, you were just like, hello, but you were kind of avoiding them, But it was good because it made us aware, Now,
Mary, where are you from in Ireland?
I'm actually from a place called Rathkenny, which is near Slane in County Meath.
Oh, yeah. You'd be in Yeah.
I wouldn't be far from Drogheda and I wouldn't be far from Navan. I went to school in Navan,
Yeah.
just 4 miles outside of Slane, just at the, Slane Castle?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yes.
there's a Carrickmacross Road out of Slane. So we're just out towards that direction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and when did you move to Germany? What made you decide to go to Germany? Why Germany?
I was doing marketing in Dundalk and I was doing German and I did German for the Leaving Cert and I liked, I was always like curious about it. I had a great German teacher, Frau Hegarty, and she always spoke about Germany and we had pen pals, in Cologne, everywhere. So I was always intrigued, I suppose, about Germany. But yeah, I did marketing and I was restless and I was like, oh, what, you know what? And I made up my mind and I told my parents, it was one Christmas, I'm off to Germany. And they're, what? Who are you going to? Where? Who do you know in Germany? Nobody. I'm going to Germany. So I literally booked a one-way ticket and checked into a youth hostel and checked in every third day because that's what you have to do. And yeah, I stayed in Germany. I had only planned to go for a year, but yeah, I came back home that Christmas and I'm going, no, I'm going back. I love it. I love it.
And
Just give me another year.
how long are you there now, Mary?
And now, 28 years this Easter. Yeah.
So
That was on Easter Sunday. That's when I left. So yeah, 28 years.
You're longer there than you were in Ireland.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Never thought I'd stay there,
What do you love about it?
I suppose I like all the organised stuff and I love where we live right now. Like it's been really safe in bringing up the kids. Schooling is good.
Yeah.
Just the rules and regulations. Now, I do miss loads about Ireland. I mean, the personality of people is completely different. Yeah, and that's one thing that hit us here in the lockdown was the people, the neighbours. They were afraid to talk to you, because we're not allowed socialise, so they didn't. Where in Ireland, I'm sure you'd be talking over the fence to somebody, or you'd still. Yeah, so I kind of miss that. But the good things about Germany are their health system is extremely good.
Yeah.
The schooling system. And like, particularly when the kids started kindergarten, I just loved in kindergarten the things that they showed them to do. Like set tables. They're only 4. They're wheeling trolleys with plates and knives and forks, and they're able to use their knife and fork. Just the detail. Hang your coat here, put your shoes there. And I'm sure Ireland is probably the same. And they're more attentive. I find them more like they listen better, So I think it's that structure that they're given in kindergarten that really helps them. And then I teach near a military base here it's a base called Ramstein Air Base. So I have a lot of American military children. And some of those parents, they choose to put their kids into the German kindergarten when they come. And I think that's a great idea, if you've got kids here for 3 years and to give them that start.
We stayed in a place in Bavaria when you were talking about it earlier, and it was House Sudetenland. And the guy that ran it was Horst Russell, and he ran it with an iron fist, because I remember Aidan Culhan was my dancing partner in Bunratty. We arrived, a gang of us. They had the boys upstairs and the girls downstairs, and the students who were learning German were in the middle. And Celine Penny, who was our dancing teacher, we all had to be in bed at 10 o'clock by his rules. But we were coming in at 10, and he came out and he said to us, he wanted the tooting piping to stop, the tin whistles.
Yeah.
Tooting piping. And he told us that if we didn't behave, we were back on the next flight the following day. Sure, my dancing partner, we had to hold him up against the wall because he was German beer, and he slid down when we left. But it was just, we were 19, 20, and it was 10 o'clock and we getting in.
And did they have you up early as well? Because they all around here now, they're up the crack of dawn.
You could always be guaranteed the Germans would want you to do a show in Bunratty at 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning. And my friend, who was a singer, she used to say to me, Jesus, I have to sing, I have to get my voice in order by 7 o'clock.
And dancing at that time.
Oh yeah, you'd have to. Yeah, we did breakfast shows out in Bunratty. only for German groups.
Yeah, they love their mornings. And in the winter now, because it gets dark, say at 4 o'clock, there's a thing called, you probably heard of it when you were here, it's called the rolladen, and it's the shutters on the windows.
Oh yeah.
And it darkens, there's no light comes in whatsoever.
Fabulous.
So you'll hear the rolladens going down at 4 o'clock. So that's it, they're gone. Now, I don't think they go to bed then, but I'm sure like bedtime, they're fast asleep by 9. I know my German neighbour, she's asleep by 9 and she's up at 5. Yeah.
God.
She doesn't work. She's retired.
And would you be Irish?
Oh, very Irish. Like she can see my light on. She's like, Mary, you go to bed so late, you know. And I'm on Irish time. I'm still that hour behind, even after 28 years.
I can still be up at 4. I'm just an Irish.
Yes, if I'm reading or stuck into something, yeah, I get more work done in the evenings. I think it's from teaching, because you come home from teaching and it's hard to wind down.
How did you get involved, Mary, in dancing?
Okay, I was 4 years old and Molly Farley was teaching classes in Rathkenny Hall, and my neighbour, she actually used to bring me to the school bus every day, but she was going to dance class, and she used to pick me up and we'd walk over to Rathkenny Hall. Yeah, and that's where it all started. Was then I was 4 years of age. And then that turned into, Molly used to teach, she'd teach in Rathkenny, she'd teach in Grange, she'd teach in about 4 different halls around the parishes. And I'd end up in the car with Molly and I'd go to all the classes. Yeah. And Molly had sometimes, because Molly was originally from Oldcastle, so sometimes she'd head home or else she'd go back to Dublin. And if there was a fesh in Dublin, I'd end up in the car with Molly to the fesh.
Isn't Jackie O'Leary from near you? Isn't she from me?
Jackie used to live in Ashburn, which would be like Slane, Ashburn, Dublin. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember interviewing Jackie when in an old radio station we were in. I interviewed her. She wasn't long gone over to Canada, and she was so homesick at the time. Oh, she was desperately homesick, and then a few months later, she had just completely settled in.
She loves it, doesn't she? She loves it.
No, you know, but she was desperately homesick when she was talking to me on the air, and she said, you know, she found it hard, but then through the dancing, dancing that actually helped her to settle in, because when you're at a fesh in Germany, I'm sure it's the same. You're at a fesh in Dublin or Cork or Germany. You wouldn't know the difference.
True, you wouldn't know the difference, yeah. Apart from when we go on the microphones at the feshes here, we have to speak in different languages so the kids can understand what's happening and what's, you know, that might be the only difference, I'd say.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So you actually took to dancing straight away?
Yeah, I loved it. My sister danced as well, and my brother, he was all into the GAA. So every Saturday, myself and my sister Jackie were in the hall, and my brother was out with the pitch. So it was grand. And then, as I say, Sundays were used. We go to feshes. I think our local feshes would have been Drogheda. We danced there at feshes, or Dublin. Dublin would have been the main ones, you know. And then I was involved in Molly's teams. So I was very lucky to be involved in those.
Yeah. She's lovely, isn't she, Molly?
Oh, she's brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. And what I used to love about Molly was she'd sit down, even with the little kids, and she'd manage to get all the stories out of them, and the whole, we'd have great crack with all the little kids and their stories. But Molly was brilliant with them and could get all the.
And Seamus McAnulla, her husband.
Yeah, Seamus used to teach us Céilís. He was brilliant. At the end of every class, we do a Céilí. So I think that's where I got my love of Céilís.
Yeah, well, when he died, Molly sent me, which was very kind of her, because I was very fond of him, and and she sent me his card, his mortuary card, and I still have that up in the mantelpiece. It's the only thing other than the 2 ornaments I have, Seamus's.
Yeah, I think I sent in a photo there of the 2 of them at my wedding. That was Molly had to judge early the next day, so that's her coming up during the wedding, go, Mary, we have to leave. I knew she had to leave, but I think that was the only photo I got of them. You know, there's so much happening on the day and the whole lot.
Yeah, you'd be all abuzz, and you'd hardly take in half of it.
Yeah,
it goes by, and I've never been married, so I don't know.
Imagine like a big party, Mary. It's a big party. It's like a big party.
Party. I said, I forget. Oh, Anne Byrne Gibbons was telling me that her mum died her dad died when her mum, in an accident, when her mum was 8 months pregnant with, or no, she was 8 months and her mum was pregnant on her brother. And
Oh, wow.
that a few years later she met a lovely man and remarried. And I said, would you ask her to actually write down step by step instructions, because I can't even find one. No, but so how difficult did you find it well, there wasn't that many Irish dancing teachers, probably none in your region when you moved.
Oh no, when I got there in 92, there was one other dance school in Munich. It was a lady called Anne Murphy, and she had learned from Maureen Hall's sister in Cork, Peggy McTaggart, isn't that right? Yeah. She had learned from Peggy, and her school, the Emerald School, they were going in Munich for like quite a long time before I got there. Yeah. But I started one night, I worked in the Irish bars there. So one night I got up and danced, and the pub owner, he's a musician. He's going, oh God, you can dance. This is great. This is great. And he said, Mary, I'm opening up a big pub and I don't know what to do with this. And I was going, we'd do Cayleys maybe. So we started these Cayleys every Tuesday in Shenanigans. And that would have been in, say, the end of 92, 93. Yeah. And from that, the Emerald dancers used to come in, and parents used to come in, and all their kids were going to the international schools. So this started happening, and then obviously Riverdance came in 94. But those Cayleys, they were the best. Every Tuesday night, I had a girl who played all the CDs, the Temple House, Cayley Band, Kilfenora. She played all of those. Oh. Like it used to be, her name was Siobhan, and I used to go roll it there, Colette, and give us a reel, and it was brilliant. And so that's where the dancing started for me. And then from that, parents came in going, oh, you wouldn't teach my Fanula, you wouldn't teach my Tara, So
they were all Irish families living.
A lot of them were Irish, a lot of them were English, a lot like a mix, expats really,
All English speaking.
Yeah. So then the owner of the pub, Paul Daly, he said, I'd nowhere, I couldn't find anywhere to teach. So he gave me the pub, when the chairs are up. So I had the whole floor of the pub to teach. So that's where I started teaching. And then another girl joined me. She used to dance for Bernie Downey. When Bernie Downey was Cogall, actually, this girl, Breed McKeown. And the two of us started teaching there. And she was teaching in the international school. And then Molly got me this job in an internat school in Switzerland. So I moved there for 3 months. And that was all through dance. I had to live in and put together a show for their winter ball. So that was definitely a brilliant experience. But you have to imagine back then, there was no feshes. All we did were perform.
Out of this world.
Sorry?
Isn't Switzerland out of this world?
Oh, beautiful. It was a place called St. Gallen, just out by Lake Constance. Oh, it was really nice.
I was in Zurich and I was in Vienna in Vienna, and I was in Salzburg in Austria.
They're gorgeous too. Beautiful places.
But yeah, it was just it's for someone who was addicted to movies like The Sound of Music, you always think when you go to these places like Austria, Switzerland, that they're when you watch they're never going to be the way they are in the movie. And they were everything, if not more.
If not more, yeah. We were lucky. We did that Salzburg tour, and I took my mum and dad on it. And when we got into the bus to do the Sound of Music tour, this choir of Americans came on the bus. And as the bus was going up the hills, they're singing The Hills Are Alive with Sound of Music, all harmonies, everything. And my mother thought it was part of the tour. And I'm, no, ma'am, these are actually on the tour with us. And they sang at the church, they sang, and all the songs that associated with the movie. We were just lucky, but it was beautiful. It was lovely.
What's the weather like there now in Germany?
32 degrees. It's absolutely beautiful. I don't know if you can see the sun shining in out there.
Look at that lovely. It's like a Swiss Family Robinson house.
That's our sitting room. That's my favorite part of the house, that couch. After classes, to come in and sit there. It's lovely.
It must be very.
And anyone who comes here loves it. That's where we all end up in there.
Who's this?
Anybody who comes, like if Shane he travels up here a lot to teach, and that's where we all end up on the couch,
Yeah, it's lovely. It's like, it must be very cozy.
Yeah, it's really cozy.
Cool in the winter, in the summer, and
Yeah,
warm.
we can pull all the shutters. Like when it gets too hot, it's actually okay at the moment. And we've trees outside which shade us, which is good. Um, but if it gets too hot, we have to shut all the shutters, and the house is just dark. But it's better because it keeps the house cool. You know, well, there's no air condition here at
No,
all. No. Well, you can go buy the machine, but it's not really worth it because it's only for about 3 weeks that we get this heat. You know, then it's pretty normal.
pretty normal. But you
Yeah.
get seasons.
Yeah, we get seasons. Yeah. I mean, we could go as far as like -10 in the winter, but Munich is a little different because they're near the Alps, so they get more snow and it's colder there.
Yeah, I know, because when we were there, it was snowing and it was so deep. I was up to my waist, nearly walking in it, and it was
Yeah.
great fun because you were. I've never experienced snow like it, and it was dry snow, which is so.
Yeah, it's different. You're right. It's different. Yeah.
We get slush in this country. It's mostly
Yeah.
no rain. But Mary, how have you seen Irish dancing changing? Certainly in Germany, because since you started, have there been more schools starting up? Or
Yeah, so say that was back in '94, and then a fesh came about towards the late '90s. And Catherine Redmond, one of the first TCRGs, she ran one in Holland. She was running them in Holland, and then a fesh happened in Luxembourg, and it was called the Benelux Fesh.
yeah,
And you know who was judging it? It was Tony Nolan.
my
And yeah, and I didn't have my TC, and Molly was on and on, will you do your TC? And I go, well, Molly, we don't need it, and just go and do your TC, do your TC. Even Seamus McAnulla, Lord of Mercy, do your TC. And I went, yeah. So I said there's no feshes, but then this fesh came up, so I went to the fesh, and I managed to get temporary registration. So the dancers that I had, I brought them,
yeah,
and that was it. I got hooked from that fesh. And then Tony gave a workshop the next day. He was teaching trads and just a workshop for anyone that was around. So we all went in, and I got to talk to him and do your TC. Okay, I'll do the TC. So it was, that's really when that started. And Sean Kilkenny, Anne Gallagher, a couple of us started to get together then. And Seamus O'Shea came out to us. Terry Gillen was our liaison officer. And that's when stuff started to get together. That would have been, say, 2000, 2001. And then in 2003, we came together and formed RTME, which was the Registered Teachers of Mainland Europe. So that started 2003. We did our first Oireachtas in 2004, and that was in Frankfurt. And that was a real eye-opener because we had 26 qualifiers, and it wasn't a normal Oireachtas because it was based on the 3 judges. So you had to get a tick from each judge, and like a recommendation.
okay.
And if your dancer got 3 recommendations, they got to go to the Worlds. That was how it was done.
All right.
Yeah, so that was in 2004. So our first Worlds was the Worlds in Ennis in 2005. So that's when Europe started coming to the
forefront.
Yeah.
And how exciting must it have been for you you and Sean Kilkenny and
there was Anne Gallagher, Catherine Redmond.
To have suddenly, to have been at the forefront, I suppose, of it in Europe.
Yeah, the founding members, I suppose. There was, and then with that then came because we started this, then other teachers were going, hey, there's something, we want to be part of that. So then Vienna came in, the Habermars in Vienna, and then Ronan Morgan, Stephen Scarf, Hungary came in. It was exciting. When you look back now and look at the size of it now, I mean, now
it's everywhere. I mean, when you look.
Yeah, well, now you see into our qualifiers, we've taken aboard, Russia are now part of it too, and Asia.
Okay.
So, yes, because Asia had nowhere else to qualify from.
That's right. That's right. I remember what's her name was saying, Patsy Fitzgerald was saying to me that her daughter teaches.
Melissa McDermott, in Hong Kong,
in China.
Yeah.
And her dancers were coming over for the European qualifiers. And so
we meet Patsy every year. We've met her the last couple of years.
Yeah. She's a sweetheart, Patsy.
She's lovely, yeah.
Best woman. But she was saying that Melissa's dancers were coming over for the European qualifiers for the world. I was trying to plan that out.
In the late 2000s, In the late 2000s, then Asia, I think Stuttgart was the first Oireachtas when they came, because they'd nowhere else to go, so they came to our Oireachtas. So then that really, it just got bigger. And then Russia, I mean, I was out teaching in Russia. I'm trying to remember, I'd say it was the late 2000s, out teaching there. And Shane McAvinty, Shane is from Munster as well. He's from Tipperary, he danced for Anne Callanan. So Shane, he joined our school in 2003. So then it's just blown out of the water since then. It's just been.
Countries like Mexico, would they? I'm trying to think. Do they compete with the US and Israel? Where would Israel?
Israel would be in our region as well. Yeah.
Amazing it's amazing that the countries that have started to embrace it and really,
and they love it. I think they've always loved Irish dance and Irish music, but the way they're taken to the competitive side as well, like they're such workers. They take it very serious. If you go to teach there in the workshops, they're eating on every word you're saying. And then I really admire the teachers who do their exams, because they weren't fortunate enough like us. They were born into it. So they're coming along as dancers and then doing their TC and then trying to bring up their own schools, but not having that culture. Not having that background of growing up in Ireland or growing up in a fesh culture. So even for us, we're bringing that to them. We're showing them how to run feshes, how like things are done at home. We're trying our best anyway, But it's brilliant to be part of it, though. It really is. It's exciting.
I mean, it's just. Mary's going to get bigger and bigger.
Oh, it's going to get much bigger, because the generation that we're teaching, we're passing that on. So give it another 10 years, and
it's something that when you look back on, you'll be incredibly proud that you were one of the founding fathers.
Founding fathers. Oh Lord, sounds so old.
I know, but it's a fact. You'll always be one of the people that actually founded it or set it up in Europe, in mainland Europe, and that is important. But I see it in every country in Europe, and I think more now once the lockdown ends, because people who may have gone a bit stale with it or may have felt a bit kind of jaded throughout have now realized, it's the same with everything, I think, have now realized the things that they really miss. And and sometimes when you take a break from something, or you're being forced into taking a break from something, you come back to it with a renewed vigor, if you like.
That's true. I think even this break away from competition, I don't think it affected our region as much, because I mean, we'd have our Munich Fesh, we'd have a Fesh maybe in Belgium, one in Holland, and then the Milan Fesh. Maybe we had 4 Feshes that we would go to, that, they were local to our school. And I'm sure every other country is the same in Europe. We wouldn't have had many more. So. wouldn't have had many more. Some maybe only had one. So when the feis was taken away from us, yes, it was a huge disappointment, but it wasn't the end of the world, if you know what I mean. There wasn't that much devastation. So we continued classes. So you probably will remember, do you remember the old Overseas Award that Aer Lingus used to sponsor? And you know, and the Americans and the Australians would be awarded this at the World Championships.
Yeah.
So when all these countries started to come to the Worlds, the Overseas Committee were like, you know, why don't we bring back that award? So I'll never forget it. Orla Ní Bhríon was on our committee at the time, and we were trying to think of a good name for that award, you know. And Aisling is the Irish for to dream. Yeah. So then we thought, oh yeah, this award will inspire others that haven't yet qualified, but hopefully one day will qualify and make their way to the Worlds, and you know, their dream to be at the Worlds. So then we needed a sponsor for this award. So the Mary Duffy Foundation, and a lot of their stuff was to dream, inspire, was kind of the same format. So we wrote to them, and they have been sponsoring that award since it started. The first year it started was in London in 2014. So 14? Yeah, I think 2014 in London. Yeah. So it's been running ever since. And I think it means more this side of it than it does to anyone in Ireland or anyone over there when they hear, oh, there's the Aisling Award. I don't think they really get it. But over here, it's one day I'm going to win that Aisling Award. Do you know, it's something for them to strive for. And it's
everyone has to have goals.
Yeah.
Have you seen a massive change? You know, I mean, for instance, is there much competition outside of, say, Commission, you know, in Europe? Is there COGAL? Is there CRN?
Oh yeah, we have, around the time we started, WIDA started to set up all over Europe, which was, it might have been a little hard for us because we obviously, Commission have standards, so and rules that we have to follow. So it was very hard, particularly now you have to tell a German that, no, you can't do that because of this, or you can't do that because the rule says that. And, you know, and they're very good at asking why, warum.
Oh yeah.
You know, why is this so? So it, you know, we did have an awful lot of explaining. It was quite hard. Where then WIDA were setting up, and they wouldn't have had maybe as many rules as us, and like they had open platform feshes that our dancers were going, can we go? And we're going, no, you're part of us. This is the way we run it. You can't do that. So that was quite hard, you know, at the beginning. But in the end, I think anyone that stayed with us with On Commission and RCCEA, which is what RTME turned into, I think they're happy, you know, and they're happy doing their thing. And there's a couple of COGAL schools in the Netherlands, and you know, I think we're all just doing our own thing. I don't feel anything. I don't feel any, you know, different with any of the organization. We don't. I think at the beginning there was a lot of maybe stuff on social media, and you know, but I think it's okay.
Niall O'Leary brought up that question on, I think it was on Michael Dillon's page about open platforms, and it was an old question apparently that resurfaced and started to take legs, and it's kind of been I thought it was interesting, you know, to actually get a conversation up about, you know, whether people think it's better that we have our own organizations and that we're separate, or whether there's room for open platforms, given that, say, Europe is so emerging and still quite small. If
you apply to, like, there are feshes in Europe that if they apply to On Commission to the overseas development, we have an open status form. For example, I'll give you an example of this girl in Romania. She runs her fesh every year.
Okay.
There's only her and maybe another school that might attend that fesh. And other than that, there's small little dance groups, little Irish dance groups. And, you know, she wants to introduce them to the fesh scene. And
of course.
Do all of this. So she would write and explain what she wants to do and give us the numbers. And we would look at it and go, you know what, she's promoting Irish dance. She's doing this all under On Commission. So we give her the open status for that fesh. Okay. And then the year after, if she can run a fesh without having to use those numbers, then she doesn't apply. you know, or I'm not just speaking about her, but other
Yeah,
feshes.
yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah,
there was a fesh in Riga that needed it. There's a fesh in Central Russia that needs it, you know, needs help that way.
yeah,
So commission does have ways of helping. If you're in an area where there's not many commission schools,
yeah,
but you're trying to promote it yourself,
yeah, yeah.
you know, there are ways to do it.
I
But
mean,
I know the question you're asking, because I remember, I think it was on Facebook, wasn't it? It was on that group about opening the platform for WIDA and COGOL and
no,
commission.
it
Is
was
that what you mean?
Niall was just Niall brought it up about for areas in America where there's very few competitions and they have nobody dancing, or they have no place really to compete. And he was saying, about the idea of having open platforms to allow for small areas where there wouldn't be enough competition for them to be able to compete. And it just kind of got legs. And I was kind of like, I personally have always been on commission. I've never been anything else, and I never would.
I don't think I'd know anything else.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know anything else.
Yeah.
And my cousins were all on commission, and
Yeah.
I was very very young when the split came, and and but I never understood division, and I suppose that's why I've been posing this question, because people seem to be interested in the idea of the question. Some would say that no, it should stay. We should stay on our own on commission. Others say then, yeah, that there's room to have open platforms, that we shouldn't, that we're all teaching Irish dancing. That, but how would you actually, I mean, logistically, if you were to actually have a World Championships with all COGOL and CRN, and
It's just how would you kind of govern it all? It's like, you know, everyone has their own different rules. How do you come together and all have the same? You know, I think there's been so much work done on each of their own organizations
yeah,
to now kind of, no, I just think, I think that's,
yeah,
you know, might be a bit too much work. And you have to remember it's all volunteer work as well.
it'd probably take about 2 weeks, maybe 3-4 weeks to get through a World Championships.
Yeah,
Imagine.
yeah.
Imagine if it was that big. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, but it was an interesting, I suppose, question. What do you think of the costumes, Mary?
And some of them are beautiful. It's just the,
Parents think of them.
sorry?
What do the German parents think of them?
Oh, when they see me put a wig or put it, they're like, you know, again, was, you know,
Right.
what is this? No, the tan is the big thing, because the Germans have naturally olive skin. So they're like, no, she doesn't need tan. They're actually, their thing is, I'd rather put her on the sunbed than keep putting that stuff on her. Like they're not into that at all. Not into the makeup, not into makeup on kids. They're not into that at all. So we're lucky in a way, because they prefer, and those parents are not the ones that allow their kids to do competition. They prefer just dancing at the festivals, doing a performance here and there. They're not they'll do the odd class fesh, but once it hits where it's intermediate and starting to get a costume, you'll notice they're not into it. And it's their kids that really want to do well, that are watching the world of Irish dance, and they accept it a bit better. But I do give the parents a bit of a warning at intermediate level, you know, this is ahead of you. And they're like, why? Why is this ahead of me? And but that's kind of, we're going with the flow. And I remember when I had, like, because I wasn't in competition for a while and I came back, I'll never forget, I went to the All Irelands. It would have been, I think, in the early 90s, after I'd been in Germany.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to get past the wigs and the costume to actually see the dance. It took me a good day, I'd say, at the All Irelands.
Yeah.
And then once I got over that, I was like, oh, the dance, yeah, you know, then I could see the dance. But that was because I was out of it for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and it had changed. I mean, we didn't wear wigs when we danced.
No, but
You know?
I have to be honest. I see the value of the wigs when you have hair.
Yeah.
You have strong hair. I mean, it's obvious. I'm there constantly trying to
Yeah. But even on little kids,
get
and to have them tidy and neat, I you know, it does tidy them up.
I love the bun wigs.
Yeah.
I think every child is on a level playing field. Any child can go up, no matter how short or poor or straight.
Yeah. Or even, you can imagine a poor mum with 3 or 4 girls. Like, she doesn't want to be up all night putting rollers in, or yeah.
When I think of my mother, and when I think of myself having to try and sleep in a head of rollers every night, and then you were 5 minutes on stage before you had your first round over.
Yeah.
Your hair was straight again.
I know, yeah. So some people's hair just doesn't hold the curl.
Oh, I never did.
Much hairspray. Yeah.
Never did. I used to envy my friends who had, one of my friends in particular, and who had really, my mother would put both our hair up in buns, and she'd put maybe 2 clips in Anne's, and she, every time, I can still remember her as a child, every time without fail, I'd hear, "Oh, I wish my Mary had your hair instead of the bit that she has."
This.
I'm here, I'm listening to you, but I could sit in my hair, but it was just dead straight.
Yeah.
And Anne wanted my hair.
But your straight is all the in now, isn't that what they're all doing with the straighteners? And
she used to roll her hair out. She literally used to put brown paper and iron it before you got the curly, and make myself sound like ancient, but she used to
before the straighteners come in.
And her daughter Rania, her father would be Libyan. She's got.
I was wondering where the name came from. Yeah.
And she used to just do everything to iron out the hair. And I said to her one day, "Why? Just leave it curly," because she had a full head.
Yeah.
And now she's leaving it, and it's down here, but it's really stunning.
Yeah.
But it took them years to actually come around to the fact of how good their hair was. When I look at people like some of the dancers with really fabulous heads of hair, I wonder why are they wearing wigs?
Yeah.
Like Amy Mae Dolan.
Oh, gorgeous! Yeah.
Lord Almighty.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. Even.
But look at her now with this. It's
Nadine Martin. I always wondered when I saw Nadine in a wig, why? Because she had that.
Yeah.
But I suppose it saves the bother of having to work in your own hair. Just put it up.
Yeah, and then Kaylee's. When you look at Kaylee's now, and they all look the same. With the same wig, and sometimes they all have the same color.
Yeah, or sometimes you'll see a Kaylee and half of them are black wigs.
Yeah, 4 blondes and 4 black. Yeah.
And that's quite nice too, because like they've made an effort to.
Yeah, true.
But you could argue then the individuality is gone.
True. Yeah. I suppose though the uniformity of with the Kaylee, with the wig and the costume, it makes it's certainly easier on the eye when you're watching lines and you're watching that, does make it flow a bit better.
Do you like living in Germany now, Mary?
Yeah, as I say now, I have to say I normally travel home about 4 times a year, and we normally go home every summer. So this has been particularly hard. I was very lucky because I got to judge the All-Irelands. So I was home in Killarney for a week in February. And how lucky was that? The All-Irelands weren't cancelled. So I was home for a week, and I wasn't home, I was in Kerry, but I was in Ireland for a week. And I was expected to go home again in March for the commission meeting, and then April for the Worlds, and then May for commission meeting. So, and then June, I would have been here. July, I would have been home again because we go to the Carlingford. It's an Irish dance festival in Carlingford. Yeah. A lot of the Europeans go, so it's like a week away for the dancers, So when you look at all the times I should have been in Ireland since February, and no, we haven't been home. Although the good thing is myself and my family and me, we've been doing family quiz nights.
Yeah, what are your positive, I suppose? What positive things have come out of COVID for you?
I think I've realised that I was never home. I was always away. If I wasn't in Munich teaching, I was at a fesh, or I was judging, or I was at a commission meeting, or I never had a proper weekend to be at home. And our 2 boys, they just finished, they did their Abitur in January. They were lucky, just got it all done before this stopped. And I think the positive thing, and probably most selfish thing for me, was that they had to stay at home. So we got to spend time with them. Now they're a lot freer. They're having a good summer now. But I think it was time with the family was number one. And I think learning who your true friends were, because it was who contacted you during all of this, who, you know, you really got to see different sides to people, the caring side, or, you know.
It brings out the true the true friends from it ekes them out from those
Yeah.
who
You know, who thought about you, who you probably would have seen them all, you know,
yeah.
and when you were traveling so much, but it was the odd little text, how are you doing? How are things with you? Or how are things in Germany? You know, just, so that was lovely. That was really nice.
Yeah, Mona's husband now was saying, you could hear him in the background while Mona was doing her interview, and
Yeah.
you know, and you could hear him saying, "I get to see more of you," and I thought that was so.
Yeah, and I'm sure Tommy is saying that as well. You know,
Where's your husband from?
Tommy is from Dublin. I met him in an Irish bar. I was teaching a Cayley, and he was there. There was a gang of Irish and English lads, and I was like, "Is that fella clapping out of time?" I'm sure he is.
Mary, you do that too.
I know. I headed over and I went, "I'm sure you're clapping out of time." And he's like, "What? There is a time?" And I went, "No, you're really driving me mad, you know." So this guy would come in every Tuesday for the Cayleys, you know. So that's how I met him. Yeah, Dublin man. Yeah.
Never danced.
Never danced, no. But I danced all day at our wedding. I couldn't believe it. He was dancing, like everyone was going, "Well, if Tommy Sweeney's up dancing, we're all up dancing." You know, it turned into a massive
But
Cayley.
isn't it amazing that Irish dancing teachers or people who are so heavily involved in dancing, when they meet husbands and that, or partners,
Yeah.
Or wives or whatever, they end up having to marry into, I suppose, the Irish dancing as well, because it's really, when you're involved in it, at any kind of a serious level, it's very all consuming, as you say. And
I remember when myself and Tommy were getting married, I said, you have to meet Molly, you know. And I suppose then it just dawned on him, oh my God, so the deal isn't sealed until I meet Molly, you know. So we went to Raheny and went in and met Molly and the whole lot. And Molly was going, now you do realise that dancing is her first love. Basically, you know, you're the second love. You know, so he got his warning, but he passed the test with Molly, so we were good to go then, you know. But yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I remember, Lord rest my parents. Mom used to go everywhere with me with dancing. Dad was English and he was so proud, knew really nothing about dancing. Yeah. But he was always writing, you know, telling my grandmother what a wind day or whatever, you know, and they were so proud. Oh, our Mary is doing Irish dancing and she's blah 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 and blah blah blah. And he, you know, he was the most, I don't think, he and my mother's friend's husband, the two of them used to stay at home. Mum and Peggy used to go to the All Ireland, the World, with me. Yeah. And we'd share one room in the Gresham, because you'd have the name of staying in the Gresham. Yes. And you know, there was one double bed probably between the three of us, me at the bottom or me at the top, and my mother.
Somebody sleeping lengthways.
and they would just be able to say that they stayed in the Gresham Hotel. And my dad would often go up on the train if they ran out of money. He'd often go up on the train with Sean's money and his money to Peggy and my mother, and then go back on the train again home.
Yeah.
If they ran out, because they often did, because they were spending.
Yeah.
You know, but and I look at Maureen Farrelly in Cork, and Andy, her husband, not a clue about dancing, but we'd go anywhere with her.
And even, you know, for feshes or setting up, even down fixing windows and stuff for me at the dance studio, or feshes are the big thing. He'd be off picking up judges or setting up halls, or, you know, but no problem, loves it. And he has met so many through it as well. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Linda Ball, her husband.
Yeah, Brian, yeah.
The case in point, always there to make the stages. Ended up, I convinced him, I kept going on at him, you know, you really should make stages for the
really good. He does a great job.
I went on so much. In the end, he said, yeah, okay, that's a good idea. But he's so involved, you know, and so proactive with her,
Yeah.
helping her.
We all know him as well. Yeah, he's a good
Mona
guy.
was saying her husband builds, sets the stage. He does everything, sets them up with their Zoom
Mhm.
and everything for the teaching the children.
Yeah.
But do you find Zoom easy to teach now?
I was frustrated with it there for a while. I think once the kids got used to, you'd be teaching, particularly beginners, you'd be going, okay, start at the TV, go over to the couch and make your way around and over to the bookcase, okay? Now from there, once you had your little way of saying things, you did get stuff done.
Yeah.
And it was great for drilling because they were on one
Yeah.
spot. And you could do an awful lot of work with feet. You could
Yeah.
fix things that you probably wouldn't see because you were too busy looking from the head down, in class.
Trying to get them to move.
Yeah, and
Now,
too busy trying to get more movement in it and all of that you weren't always, focused on the ground. What I liked about it was I would say, well, grab a chair, because the way you'd be telling them, and this was one thing that really, really got to us. When we were teaching, we're going, and this is where you practice at home all the time. Like, they didn't have proper practice places. And they're going, yeah. And I said, so when I ask you every week, did you practice your step? Is this where you practiced? And it could be in a hallway. It could have been like a really dangerous place, the edge of a hallway at the top of the stairs, and I mean, you're practicing there all the time, really. So we realized that not nobody, but majority didn't have practice areas. So we managed to fix practice areas. They got better as the time went on. So I think from that, we now know that they know how to practice at home. That was a big thing, I think, that was missing.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to practice. And another thing was grabbing the chair and say, just grab a chair there. Because in the dance halls, we didn't always have chairs.
No.
Grab 2 chairs and we'll rock properly. We'll do our twist properly, cross keys. And actually, we're getting more done. And we went back into the studio in June. And in the drills, I was trying to do the drills. And I was like, well, hold on to something. But sure, we had no chairs. And plus, we had the social distancing. We couldn't, we couldn't all come together.
Another thing they could practice in one spot as well is, when they're standing in front watching the back leg. A teacher once said to me, which I thought was a fantastic tip, was to put the colored stickers.
Yeah.
You put a colored sticker on the inside of the heel.
Yeah.
And if you're crossing your feet and you can't see the colored sticker, then your feet aren't turned out enough.
I know. I did that with mine once, and I'll never forget it. The mother polished over the shoes for the vet, and I could see this sticker. I was sitting in the audience, and I'm going, she never took the stickers off. I could see it was only a beginner, but still, yeah. But that does help. You're right about that. That does help.
No, because it's sometimes children learn more when they can actually physically visualize.
Yeah, some of them are more visually.
You're trying to tell a child, turn your right foot out. No, the other right foot. Because you say, turn the right foot out. So they turn the foot out, the other foot goes with it.
Yeah.
And you're saying, no, now turn that one out, and then that one goes with it. And whereas if you have the colored, and the further you put it back, the more their feet have to turn out.
Yeah, and it's good because they get to see it, and I think they understand it a bit better as well then.
Drilling, and with the Zoom, that should be all that.
And then after Zoom, so I was lucky enough to be back in June into the studio, but Shane was in Barcelona and he couldn't. He still had to teach for the other month online. So he was going, Mary, what's it like being back in classes? And I said, well, you'll never guess. I said, they can't get through that lead. I said, after the lead, they're dead. So, they could do 3 steps on the spot, and we thought they were, they're doing really well. But with the movement, and they couldn't. They just and they were like, hold on a minute. I thought I stayed fit during the Zoom, and look at me now. So it was a bit frustrating for them. But after a week or so, I'm back into it. It was back.
I got to know very friendly when we did our adjudicators together, Tony Tyrrell, Lord rest him. And Tony was in the UK, and I remember the first time I met him, I thought he was a little priest from the Aran Islands. Mary, I had no idea why that came into my head, but he had an Aran sweater on him. He was small, and
Clancy brother.
yeah, he looked like a reject from the Clancy brothers, and Jared Meehan was beside me, sitting on the ground, and I was sitting, and he said, and he burst out laughing, and in droll Jared Meehan fashion, he just looked, he said, Jesus, Mary, that's the first and last time Tony could ever be accused of that. But Tony used to ring me up at 10 o'clock at night, and at about 3 in the morning, he'd be still talking. And I'd hear him saying, "Is that you snoring?" Because I'd have fallen asleep. But he'd be going on and on and on about all things he used to do, and with dancers and the likes of Mandy Hennigan when she won her words with him. But not with her. But he used to be saying that he used to get them to, even the dancers he had up to the time he died, that he used to get them to do their lead around, side step, and 2 steps. And if they stopped or got tired halfway through, they had to start all again. And he'd make them do it all. And then if they got tired again, they'd have to start right from the beginning again and go. And that built up their stamina.
Yeah.
Because eventually they were able to get through lead around, side step, and 1 step, and then the 2 steps. And then he'd make them, once they got the 2 steps, he'd make them do the lead around and side step again before they'd stop. I used to say, "You're a tyrant."
Tyrants, yeah.
Tyrant.
Yeah. But when you look at all the fitness stuff the kids are doing nowadays outside of Irish dance, they're doing like CrossFit, they're doing fitness classes with we use this guy from Ballina, Peter O'Grady, and I think though, the way they teach them injury prevention and everything, how to do things correctly and how to warm up correctly and cool down. We never had that. Do you remember the cement floors and everything we had to dance on?
I danced in flagstone floors and ripped my ankle. It was just, and there was nothing. We danced. I danced on a stage in a Pogue with glass center in it. Just that spun me around, and I went right through the glass stage up to my hip.
Glass,
because they wanted to project light onto the car.
Oh, okay.
And they had us told, don't go on the glass now. Sure, 3/4 of the stage was glass. We were left with about 5 inches on the boats on either side.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, but I think that side of it I like that they're, and it makes them more conscious of eating better and just staying healthy. We did a lot of, with the Zoom, we would remind them, say 15 minutes beforehand, your class is on now, so start warming up, get the jump rope out, get the skipping rope out, start, just to keep them motivated. I think Zoom, we got huge thanks from our parents for keeping classes going on Zoom. Yeah. I think the children, they looked forward to it.
Yeah, the novelty would wear off after a while of them having...
That timing thing drove me crazy though.
That's very hard on Zoom.
Yeah, really hard. And even when we come back and I'm going, "What are you doing? That's completely out of time." And the young one goes, "Well, I've been doing that all the time and you never said anything on Zoom." But because I couldn't see it,
No, you can't, because there's a slight pause. There's often a delay.
Yeah.
What you see and what you hear.
Yeah.
And from that point of view, it is hard. But are you back at dancing class?
We were back up until the end of June. And then in July, I did some summer classes because I wasn't traveling, I was here. And next week now we've got a summer camp, but it's all social distancing. But I managed to get the local theatre, which, they can't open, but they're opening the back door for me so I can use the stage.
Oh,
so
that's very nice.
Yeah, I thought that was really good because they wouldn't let us into the sports halls. They wouldn't let us into bigger venues or anything. So I went down to the local hall that we use for our fesh, and they've been really helpful. And they said, yeah, you can use this, which is great because I can really spread them out,
But you've never worked in marketing since you went to Germany?
No, well, I suppose I've used it with the school.
Used it.
But yeah. I used the German, obviously, but I had to learn different German because I arrived in Bavaria with Hochdeutsch, which is like Oxford English, would be the top level of German. Where in Bavaria they speak Bayern. It's so normally you'd say Guten Tag, Hallo. In Bavaria you say Servus, and Servus is like for everything.
Servus. But there was another phrase as well. I'm trying to think of it.
Grüß Gott. Is it Grüß Gott?
Grüß Gott. Yeah. But the Bavarians, from what I remember, they have a different way of saying nearly everything.
Yeah, if bread rolls, like for example, in Germany, in northern Germany, it's Brötchen, and in Bavaria, it's Semmel. So there's no resemblance at all.
I'm weniger and ein bisschen.
Yeah, ein wenig oder ein bisschen. Yeah.
Wenig and ein bisschen. I went to I studied German for a bit in the Deutsche Gesellschaft in Limerick, and I just kind of feel that, you know, with languages, I'd be quick at picking up languages and sounds because I'd have an ear for.
Do you speak Irish as well, Mary?
Irish, I know that if I did Irish now, I'd be fluent at it. But when I was going,
you've an ear for it.
You had nuns that were but you had no. I never really took to it, and my mother was fluent, and she always said things like, she always did my homework for me, and she always did it with the shavus instead of the GH, because the shavu.
Old Irish, yeah.
And the nuns used to say, Maura, you've got to stop doing Mary's homework. Say, sister, is my Irish rusty? And they'd say, no, your spelling is. It was a dead giveaway. I'd be going in completely proud because I'd be tearing my hair out because she'd have me convinced I was no good at Irish. I wasn't good at Irish. And it dampened my confidence in it, but because languages, I'd be good at languages. I mean,
even the German words you're saying there, the pronunciation's very good.
Pronunciation would be fluent in languages. Like if I speak French, the people would say to me, "Oh, you know, your accent is very good," but it's the grammar and the the passive composé and all that, you know, the past tense. Because it's easy for us. We say the and whereas you have der, das.
Der, die, and das, and then that changes in the dative. It goes to dem. Yeah, very confusing.
Yeah, and la and lay in French. But you know, it's just the put. You know, I mean, 6 months I'd say in a country, and I'd probably pick up.
You would, yeah. I find I lived in a little village in northern Bavaria. It was called Kitzingen, which was near Würzburg. Have you heard of Würzburg?
Würzburg, yeah.
Yeah, and Würzburg was actually, if you go to Würzburg, everything is Saint Kilian. Kilian with a K. Okay. So the Bishop Kilian, he went to Würzburg. So you've got Kilian Apotheke, Kilian Bäckerei, it's everything is Kilian. And actually one of our sons is called Kilian, and that was one of the reasons, the connection with Germany.
With a K?
Sorry?
With a K?
We spell it with a C.
Yeah.
Yeah, which he's not impressed with, because when he's in school and they, you know, when they're calling out the roll, they go Silly and Sweeney, and he's like, Mom. But anyway, I lived in this town, Kitzingen, and I had very little English speaking friends. I only had German friends. And my German was at its best. It was like the best ever then. And then I moved here to where it's the military base, and like every second neighbor is American. So I'm not using the German as much as I'd like to, you know. Even if you go into the local shops or anything and they hear your accent, their English here is really good.
Yeah, you see, they're so multilingual in
and the way they're taught English in school is really good.
I mean, we have a guy with us here in the station. He's from the Netherlands, and he speaks 5 languages. Wow. You know, and I was talking to a woman the other day. She's Dorat Oliver Wolf. She was a Holocaust survivor, and she became known as the second best jazz singer in Europe after the war. But she was telling me she speaks 9 languages fluently.
Wow.
There, you know, thinking, oh God, Mary, you need to snap out of it now and get at least one so that you can have some bit of pride.
Yeah. But even the kids at school, they're doing, like, they can do extra ones. So they do Spanish, they do Russian, they do like all these extra languages, and they're really good at doing them. And I think it's because of the basics of, like, they start teaching them English in primary school.
Yeah.
But like they're doing leaving cert honored English. Like, it's so good.
That's the way languages should be taught, Mary.
Yeah.
We go through the whole system, primary, secondary, in Irish, and we come out of it not able to speak it.
I know, it is sad, really. Yeah.
We're afraid to speak it. My friend now, as I say, lived in Libya for 30 odd years. and her children speak as native in English as they do in Arabic. And they also, the younger ones now are learning Irish in school. And that's coming really easy to them because
they're open to it, you know.
They speak Libyan, and which is slightly different from Arabic. And then they speak Arabic and they speak English. And now they're speaking. So it's just amazing the way we're actually brought up with the different languages. You know, you're obviously speaking English all day.
Yeah, and the kids, like, they go to school and everything's in German, but when our household is all, like, the kids have Irish accents. So, you know, but they're fluent, all their friends are German, you know, and like, even when they go to Ireland, nobody would think that they were German.
It's funny to see children who have grown up in Libya all speaking with an English accent, with an Irish accent.
Irish accent,
a Limerick accent. For the most part. You know, it's just
actually in Munich now, because we've a lot more expats, but the kids come in and you can hear a little twin and you're going, where's your parents from? You know, and then the parents come in to pick them up and you go, where are you from? Oh Lord. And it's gas because they have a little German accent in their English, but there's a little Irish lilt in there. You can hear the lilt in them.
My friend in Bunratty, Annette, she married a guy from Finland. Gustav Alsved was his name, but his parents were Swedish, so he spoke Finnish and Swedish and Russian and German and English. And his son was with him so often because she was in Bunratty with me so often that Carl had a broken English accent. He just grew up with a broken English accent for about the best part of 14 years.
Wow.
You thought he might have actually just English was his second because he was always around Gus.
So he picked up the broken English.
If he had been around Annette, he had a Waterford accent. But you know. But Mary, it's been fabulous having you on. Where do you think you're going to go from here with the dancing?
With the dancing,
what's the next steps for you?
For me, I'd love to do my grade examiners exam. I'd love to do that because I think that's the way forward, particularly because everyone you need the grades to do your TC. So that would be my next thing. And then, just to keep doing what I'm doing. I love it, helping RTCEA even more and having maybe more festina or more activities for Irish dance in our region.
And it's and for it to grow, continue to keep growing.
Keep growing.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be very, very successful for you.
I think it will. Yeah,
I'm proud of you. I'm proud to know you. And it's
thanks, Mary.
First time really speaking to you, but you know, it's a thing of pride actually to be able to look back in years to come and. You were there when it started from nothing.
Infancy,
infancy. Well, Mary.
Thanks for having me. Thanks a million.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I look forward to meeting you for real with a real cup of tea.
Oh,
at a fesh.
Yeah. I feel like I've known you all my life now.
Yeah, I met you at a fesh. Was it Lorraine Duggan's fesh?
Lorraine Duggan's
in the South Court. Yeah, that was lovely.
I was judging but in a different hall.
Yeah. And then myself, you and Des had to come in together. Do you remember? We had to come in.
That's right. We had to get people off the floor.
Yeah.
Off the floor to judge because it was so busy.
It's
lovely, Lorraine.
Yeah, lovely. Very nice.
Lovely girl. She really is one of the nicest.
Great girl. Yeah.
One really nice girl. But Mary,
okay, bitteschön. Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye-bye, and thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.